Hey everybody, Danny Maude here. Thanks for joining us. As you can see, we're in bunkers. So how often do you find yourself sculling it or thinning it over the back of the green, or worse still, chunking it and leaving it in front of you? In this week's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how you get out of bunkers every time. We're going to talk about how do you play compact sand, hard sand, wet sand, how you play soft sand. What do you do when the ball's maybe at the back of the bunker on a downslope or on an upslope? How do you play those shots? We'll cover it all in this video. Now, before I do, look, if you're new to the channel, it's one of your first videos of mine, please consider subscribing. Just press that little bell button, next subscribe button, you get notified every time I release a video just like this one. Plus, I always put a free downloadable practice plan in the description box below, so you never have to remember a thing. Great, so I love bunkers, and by the end of this video, you're gonna love them too. So let's get started. How does the ball go out of the bunker in the first place? Very simply, the club head, I've got a 60-degree wedge here with a decent amount of bounce. So that's the first thing you want. I've got 12 degrees of bounce, very, very important, okay? The club comes in behind the golf ball about an inch or two here. It then arrives, hits the base of the sand, and then pops the ball up in the air like that. So notice it never really hits the golf ball, because actually when it does pop the ball airborne, there's actually a bed of sand between the club and the ball. This is one of the reasons why when you hit quite firmly, the balls don't go very far, right? So let's show you how you can do this consistently and accurately. The first thing I want you to do is take your club, open the club face wide open here, so the back of the club is resting basically on the sand. Then I want you to grip it. This allows you then to get a nice slither and a bounce, or use the bounce in the sand. If the club face is completely square, what you end up doing, look, is you get the leading edge coming into the sand here, and this creates this deepness. Now, if that deepness comes into the sand, what's going to happen is how do you get the bounce? You don't. The club just keeps going. There's no bounce, there's no ricochet, the ball just gets fatted into the middle of into the bunker, right? So we want to use the bounce. The next thing you want is you want to then, we'll go into the rest of the setup in a second, I want you to get the feeling that no one gets. This is the crux to all bunker play. You've got to let the momentum of the club work. So get a sense of that. Now I'm holding it in my right hand. You could hold it in your lead hand if you play golf right-handed, but you're actually left-handed, doesn't matter. But I'm letting my elbow fold here, and I'm allowing the club face naturally to open, and I'm going to get some momentum in this club. That's all I'm doing. Swinging momentum. You'll notice here the club is opening, and as it comes in, look, it's starting to close. Okay, so take a look at this. We want to create momentum in this club all the way, but you want to make sure that you're keeping the loft on all the way. Now, to do that, just imagine this. I'm going to put some sand on my club here. Now, as I take the club back here, I'm basically maintaining that sand on the club here and just coming through. Look, I've still maintained it, and it's still on the way through here as well. So all you're doing in reality, you're trying to keep the loft on that golf club all the way when you create this momentum. Question is, how do you make sure that it enters into the correct point in the sand each and every time so that it does pop that ball airborne? Well, here's what we've got to do. So a great drill for this is to lower your hands. That helps to keep the loft on. If the hands are too high, basically you take the loft off and it makes it much harder to use the bounce. So we're going to lower the hands. Then what I want you to do is with the ball still opposite your lead heel, draw a line 2 inches behind the ball. That's where you're going to obviously enter the sand, okay? Then just move the ball out of the way. With your trail arm, keep your bicep nice and connected to your body, and just allow the club just to swing with momentum again, backwards and forwards, and start to see if you can allow it to naturally fall on the line. Now, if it's falling behind the line, the chances are you're either leaning back and that's forcing momentum to go backwards. Maybe you haven't even got your sternum set perpendicular. Maybe it's set too far behind the ball at start. So try and get it so that everything's lined up so that when you do throw this momentum, it consistently starts, look, to hit that line, backwards and forwards. Now, when people do this to start off with, they're hanging on. You might be the same. You're trying too hard. There's too much tension there. Tension will get rid of momentum, make this bunker shot so much harder to hit. Use that momentum and allow your body to help guide it, right? Now, clearly, if I throw my momentum forward, I throw my mass forward. That's going to hit the line ahead. So immediately, I've got great feedback. From here, all I want you to do is then with just one arm, yes, one arm, you'll find it so much easier. Now, you might be left-handed playing golf right-handed, you just do the opposite with your lead hand. Start to swing the club backwards and forwards here, allowing that momentum to strike the line just behind the ball. And watch this. Come on. Oh, pretty good, right? And notice, quiet sound, not much sand being taken. Why? Because the club's coming in. I'm allowing it to naturally glide. Why isn't it thinning if I'm gliding it through? Well, because my body's not behind here. I'm not scooping it up. I'm allowing my body to be in position so it actually strikes the sand perfectly correctly. Now, let's add in the second hand. All right, so with the second hand in, all we're gonna do exactly the same thing here. So we're gonna look to strike the ground behind the ball, but remember, this is a hands and arms motion. So we wanna keep our spine perpendicular to the slope, weights on our lead foot, toes pointing outwards here, and all we're gonna do is swing back and swing through and trust this momentum gets the ball out. We're not going to drive at it. We're just going to trust the momentum of the club. We'll get the ball out absolutely perfectly. One mistake golfers make before I jump into this, they stare at the ball, not the sand. Focus on the sand, not the ball. It's a little bit downhill from here, so it probably won't, there you go. It's a little bit long. Doesn't matter. Maybe I should do it one-handed. Sounds a little better. But you can see here, no effort at all. The ball's pumping out absolutely perfectly. So how do you play different types of sand? Hard sand, soft sand. You know, is there changes in the technique? Well, subtly, yes. So let's start with compact sand. I've really trampled this down around here. Okay, so it's very, very compact. Now, in doing that, all we're going to do now is this. If we play it normally, which we're going to do, if we play it normally and use too much of the bounce, we could literally hit it off almost like the concrete here and actually blade it. So what we do instead is we keep everything the same, ball position the same, all the facets of what we were doing a minute ago, but we're going to position just a little bit more weight on our lead side here, and we're going to sense that the bounce of the club or momentum is thrown a little bit more steeper into the back of the ball. That's basically it, okay? So literally, same swing, just pop down there, and away we go. Now, that's absolutely fine. It's downhill. It's going to be absolutely fine. I've broken the seal of the sand, and it pops it up. So what differences now do you make when it's softer sand? So let's move in some fluffy stuff here. Well, the softer sand, you've got a couple of options. Sometimes what I actually do is I grab myself another wedge, and I actually have two wedges where I have one with a wide sole bounce on here, so bigger bounce, because again we want more bounce working on the softer sand. Or if I'm using my existing wedge, I'll just lay it open even more, and I'll make sure that this time when I'm coming in, I'm not coming down at all steeply, I'm coming in very, very shallow. Okay, so same principle here, nice and shallow, same technique as before. Now where we go. Didn't quite strike that one as well as I wanted to, but never mind, doesn't matter. So, but it's out. So that's how you play the softer sand. Now, why did mine just pop out of the bunker there? Very, very simply, I just caught, look at that, I've caught too much sand there. So what does it mean? I've got to use more of that bounce, more of the glide through the impact area. Now, if you've got time to play a very difficult shot, the one that people absolutely hate. Now, there's no chance I don't think of me stopping this actually on the green here. But if I position a ball right at the back of the bunker on a downslope, okay, how would I play this shot? Well, remember, same principles apply. We get the spine perpendicular to the slope. So how much pressure do you think I'm going to have on my lead side? A lot, right? Now all I'm going to do here is this. This is ridiculously steep. I'm going to have to come up really steep. I'm going to have to get the club, just as before, into the sand, into the back of that bunker. Now, I have probably got not much chance of stopping it on the green. In fact, it's probably going to go too far. I'd normally in a competition probably go out a bit more sideways on here to try and keep it on, but just for illustration, I'm literally going to come up here, I'm going to come down into that sand here, and I'm going to see if I can play this ball out of the bunker in some description. Oh, that is as good as I'm going to ever get. Stay on, stay on. Yes, I would take that 100 times out of 100. I put my spine perpendicular. I haven't tried to scoop it. That would have hit the bank. I've really committed to the shot. I've really released all the things in an exaggerated way that I've been teaching you. All right, so let's just really quickly round up and summarize what we've done. First things first, we open the club face, then we grip it. We then sense momentum in this club with one hand initially. Notice as I'm swinging here, I've got some momentum. Then what do? Well, we've got to direct that momentum. The ball position's forward, okay, our hands are low, okay, behind there. Hands are nice and low. And what we do is we draw a line and we try and practice directing this momentum backwards and forwards. If we find ourselves not hitting the line, the chances are what we're doing is we're moving our bodies around. That's going to shift your momentum back, or it's going to shift the momentum of the club too far forward. So our bodies stay nice and centered here, keeping our balance points. Second thing, if you hang on too tightly because you're worried about where the club's going to go, that will affect your momentum. You start to drive it here. It's going to throw momentum all over the place. So once you've done that, add the second hand in, trying to repeat the exact same process. Remember, it's a feel, it's a hands and arms motion, not a body drive like you might have with a proper golf swing. Once you've done that, you've got those sensations, you're pretty much there. Make the slight adjustments with hard and soft sand, maybe a bit more pressure on that lead side here, going to the sand on the, from firmer sand, maybe get it weight a bit more even on softer sand, use that bounce a bit more, and maybe even go to a slightly more wider sole club, lob wedge or sand wedge for that softer sand. But that is it. You're going to have to cope with some of the nerves with this, because clearly this in itself, letting go, will feel very, very strange. Yeah, very strange initially, but trust the momentum. How effortless is it for me just popping those balls out? I'm not going at it with loads and loads of power. I'm using the power that comes from the momentum of this golf club. I'm not swaying my body around. That's how I get consistent. I really, really hope this helps. If it did, please give it a thumbs up. Maybe share it with one of your friends who you think could do with some help out of bunkers. And of course, look, I put a free downloadable practice guide with all these little steps in the description box below, so you never have to remember a thing. And of course, look, if you're new to the channel and this was one of your first videos of mine, please consider subscribing by pressing that little bell button and the subscribe button so I can see you next week. But until next week, have a wonderful golfing week.